5-0 last week, 22-9 against the spread on the season, and I've got 4 more for you this week. Welcome into Saturday Locks, your home for college football picks of the week. I am your host, Rajiv. Thank you for joining us, and thanks for all the early support of the show. Last week, going 5-0 was pretty big. Hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell as well. You're only going to have about a day and a half or so to get these picks in before they actually take place, and you can follow me on X at Rajiv Badgers. Okay. 22-9, really good week last week. 5-0. We're going to go over those games quickly before we get into our 4 new games this week. I really wanted to give 5, but I couldn't do it. I usually do 4. So last couple weeks I've done 5, but there was one that I'm on the fence on. I'm still on the fence about it, and I'll tell you which one that is, but I could not add it to the official picks. But yeah, great stuff. 71% win percentage. Again, all against the spread or over and unders. No money line favorites here. So this is all against the spread. I did actually parlay them together. I do parlay them together every week. I did that last week. It was a nice payout for me. Hopefully some of you did the same. Let's quickly get into what last week's picks were. We had Michigan -4.5 over Washington. That was a good one. Georgia barely covered, but did cover at home against Ole Miss. Purdue at Northwestern. I had Northwestern covering the -2.5. They won by 19. Oregon, I said that they were obviously pretty pissed off after what happened against Indiana. They were going to go to Rutgers and smash them, and they did, 56-10. And the Penn State-Iowa game was very close. Penn State did cover that. Iowa ended up winning by a point, but as I'd said on the show, it was going to be a close game always. It's just that game that was never going to be more than a 3-point game. Okay, so we've got 4 more games for you. Games to be played October 25th. This is week 9 of the college football season. We are kicking it off in the SEC. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. Oklahoma is laying 5 points. I said last week that the SEC is trying to find a champion, right? I mean, you've got the Big Ten that's pretty top heavy right now with Ohio State and Indiana and even Oregon, but the SEC is not quite sure who their best team is yet. Is it going to be A&M? Is it going to be Alabama? Is it going to be Ole Miss? It was Ole Miss for a little bit. Ole Miss, Trinidad Chambliss, dual threat quarterback, played well last week against Georgia, but did not get it done. Didn't expect them to. This is the meat of their schedule, and now they're going to an Oklahoma right after going to Georgia. It's not going to be pretty for them again this week. Or remember the days of Oklahoma just having this high-flying Big 12 offense with no defense? That's not this team. Brett Venables is a defensive machine. They've got an incredible defense. They lead the country in sacks. They're allowing 9.4 points per game. Texas was really the only team that kind of beat them up a little bit. But man, this team has got studs on the defensive front, and that defense really can limit explosives, right? Because of how much pressure they get with their front four. Taylor Ween leads the SEC in tackles for loss at 10.5. They've got another guy that's got 7.5 tackles for loss. They got tons of sacks. This team is all about disruption. And Ole Miss, if they're disrupted, they're not going to be able to really attack as much. And I think Oklahoma is really going to be a fierce, issue for them. They're also at home. Ole Miss, like these games are they're not easy. Going on the road in the SEC, the Big Ten, wherever you are, that's very, very difficult to do. It matters in this sport. It matters in college football way more than it does even in the NFL. I absolutely think Oklahoma gets this one done. I think this is a 7-8 point game potentially. Ole Miss, I know that they're really good. I know that there's, people want them to be the best team in the SEC. It's not going to happen. You go on the road, you're not going to get this. Public money, another thing that I always like to look at, 96% of public money is going on Ole Miss. A higher ranked team getting points generally means that the public is going to go all in. Could Ole Miss win? Sure. Of course they could. I don't think it happens. I'm taking Oklahoma -5. All right, next up, going to the Big Ten. Actually, the other 3 games are in the Big Ten. We're going to West Lafayette. Purdue is getting points at home against Rutgers. I did mean to mention at the top of the show, all my picks are home games, home teams this week. Doesn't always work that way, but I kind of found these games as edges because I think the home team was not getting quite as much as respect as in the line as I think they should have. Okay, so Rutgers at Purdue, both bad teams in the Big Ten. Nothing to write home about here as far as good football, but it's good betting as far as I'm concerned. Rutgers is not a very good team. They both of these teams fought Minnesota tough, but they ultimately lost. Rutgers has a couple wins out there. It's fine. The last couple weeks they've been bad. They've badly beaten by Washington, and then of course against Oregon. Purdue's lost their quarterback last week. Ryan Brown got injured in their last game. He is doubtful for this game against Rutgers. That does matter here for sure. Malachi Singleton is their backup, more of a dual threat guy, running quarterback. They're going to have a lot of RPO and ease up, sort of make the passing game as easy as it can be for him. That is a thing. Ultimately, this is a battle of two not very good teams. Home field just matters here because neither of these teams are really that good. Purdue, under Barry Odom, their new head coach, after they fired Ryan Walters last year, I think is just playing with more purpose, passion, aggression. Yes, they lost 19-0 against Northwestern, which is a team I'm going to talk about at the very end of the show. But I still think that they get this done at home. They're getting points at home. I'm always going to take a team getting points at home when I believe the two teams are basically equal, even with Ryan Brown's injury. I think they're a little bit more dynamic defensively. Devin Maccabee's still a really good player. Rutgers, Ethan Kalak-Manis, whatever. Old Minnesota quarterbacks never really impressed me. I know he's all right, but yeah, I mean, this is a turnover heavy team. Rutgers is probably going to give the ball away a couple times. I think Purdue gets it done. Could be a one-score game for sure, but I'm going to take Purdue +2. Also on this game, public money. Rutgers, surprise, surprise, because people believe Rutgers is better than Purdue, especially after Purdue's shutout last week. 69% of bets, 96% of public money is flowing on Rutgers. You know how I say it, go the other way. I'll take the other way more times than not. All right, next up, staying in the Big Ten, Minnesota at Iowa. Iowa is laying 7.5 points. I'm going with the Hawkeyes. Let's talk about this game a little bit. Very interesting one. The line is interesting. You don't generally see 7.5 point lines for Iowa at home because they don't really outscore a ton of people. But let's get into this a little bit more. Minnesota has a redshirt freshman quarterback. Drake Lindsey, I thought it was Darius. Drake Lindsey, thrown for quite a bit of yards. I think, 1,400 yards, 10 touchdowns, 3 picks. He's looking pretty good. They beat up Nebraska last week, but they did it with their defense, actually, especially their defensive front. They had 9 sacks on Dylan Raiola, which is quite the number for Minnesota. But back to their offense, they run the ball very well. Drake Lindsey's not going to fire the ball downfield. It's a very methodical type of an offense. Doesn't have a ton of explosives, but they rely on that constant movement of the ball. In comes Iowa defense, who loves when teams do that and try to do that. It doesn't work very well against them, especially at Kinnick Stadium. Later in the day game, probably a blackout. I think it is a blackout for Iowa. Just a very, very tough place to play. And he's a redshirt freshman quarterback. So, and they haven't played that well on the road, by the way. They went to Cal, got beat by 2 touchdowns, obviously got smoked at Ohio State. That's all they've done on the road. They've won their home games, but they haven't really done anything away from Minneapolis. So now they go to one of the toughest places to play in the country. It is a rivalry game, and I don't think that bodes well for them. Iowa, Mark Gronowski, hurt knee a few weeks ago, has been playing through it fine. He looks pretty good. Now, they're not a flashy offense, right? They tried to update their offense, hasn't really worked, but they can run the ball, and I think they will be successful running the ball on Minnesota's defense. And the X factor is Mark Gronowski's running with his legs. He is a really interesting threat. His passing isn't great, but he is very mobile in a sneaky good way. So if they get into third and long situations, Mark Gronowski can get them out of that, right? They've scored a decent number of points. Even though they're not playing great offense, they have played some bad defenses recently, Wisconsin's included. But they did just beat Penn State. They gutted that game out. That was actually a very, very fun game to watch. But what it is with this game, of course, as I said, many things, one of the data points I use is always public money here. You look at that line and you think, geez, Minnesota, 7.5 points on the at home, going to Kinnick, even though it's on the road, it's a rivalry game. It's going to be close. I'll take Minnesota. I'm not going to do that. If you did take Minnesota, you would be with 64% of people that took Minnesota and 76% of the money on Minnesota. I'm going to go Iowa -7.5. I think this is a 10-point game. It's got 20-10 written all over it, 23-13. That I believe is the final score here. It could very well be close. And if you say, oh, I don't know about this one, this is going to be a close game at Kinnick, I hear that argument. That's totally fine. But I'm going to use the data point of the fact that Iowa is going to be able to shut down Minnesota's offense. I think Drake Lindsey's probably going to turn the ball over a couple times because it's a very, very tough environment, and fade that public money just a little bit. So Iowa -7.5 at home against Minnesota. All right, last but not least, number 25 Michigan at their in-state rival, Michigan State. Michigan State is getting 14.5 points. I am taking Michigan State and the points in this game. This is a very tough rivalry game always for Michigan. Now, I know the last time they played them, I think they smoked them, but historically, Michigan State has given Michigan a lot of problems. It is a night game. It is in East Lansing. Michigan State is not good. However, I feel like they played teams pretty well. You go back to that Nebraska game, I think they played them very well. They were in that game for quite a while. I won on that game. I took Michigan State, and they covered barely. And, they don't get blown out a lot. Aiden Childs has had a pretty decent season at quarterback for Michigan State, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, 1,200 yards. Michigan obviously is a fantastic defensive team, right? No doubt about that. Look what they did to Washington last week, which was one of my games that I picked. I think Michigan's very good. Bryce Underwood is not there yet, but he is a growing quarterback who I think is going to have a good future ahead of him. The only reason I think I take this, and the reason I like this game so much, is because of the Michigan State rivalry. The fact that Michigan State has nothing to play for at this point. They're 0-4 in conference. They're not a good team along with many others. And this is their Super Bowl, right? Beating Michigan to knock them out of the top 25, eliminate them from any kind of playoff contention, really. This would be a very, very sweet victory for Michigan State. Do I think Michigan State wins this game? Absolutely not. But I see backdoor cover coming all day on this game. The bets in the money are actually a bit more kind of even, 42% of bets on Michigan. So actually more bets on Michigan State, but 62% of the money on Michigan as well. So there are some sharps who believe that Michigan's going to take this. And then listen, they very well could. I was 5-0 last week. I might not be 5-0 this week. I hope I am, but obviously you're going to lose quite a bit in this world that we live in of gambling. But I think that it's very, very difficult for Michigan to win on the road at Michigan State as handily as they're wanting to. And this rivalry always affects the line for me. It's generally just closer than you really think. And Michigan obviously is beginning to look ahead at what they've got coming up soon. They've obviously got a massive game at the end of the season. They still have aspirations to kind of get back up to the top of the conference and to maybe find a way to get into that playoff. And they can really do that given their schedule that they have. And after this game, it's kind of Purdue, I think, Maryland, maybe Northwestern, and then of course the big one against Ohio State, which is their Super Bowl as well. So Michigan State, I'm going to take the home team here. Give me all the games I took were home. Give me the 14.5. Calling a backdoor cover on this one. Definitely can see it being a 20-point game late. Michigan State scores and gets that cover. I just think it's going to be a little bit closer than people at the University of Michigan really want to think. All right, let's go over those quickly one more time. We've got 4 games for you. Ole Miss at Oklahoma. I'm taking Oklahoma -5. That defense is going to be stifling against Ole Miss. Rutgers at Purdue, taking the home dog here, +2 points. These teams are basically equal. I'm going to take the home dog here. Minnesota at Iowa. This is one where the clear bet really looks like it should be Minnesota, given the fact that they beat up on Nebraska last week, and given the fact that Iowa doesn't score a ton of points. But listen, special teams, Kinnick Stadium, freshman quarterback from Minnesota. And public money fading it away. I'm taking Iowa -7.5. Michigan and Michigan State is the last one, +14.5. For Michigan State. Thank you so much for joining again. Like, subscribe, do all the fun things up there. And again, bet responsibly. Good luck with everything. I did get a couple questions about when this show could come out. I like to wait until Thursday to film these, just because I want to get as much data as I can, whether it's injuries or public money. I might try to do these on Wednesdays a little bit going forward, so there's a couple more extra days to place these bets. But this has been really good. Again, thank you so much for the early support of the show. It's been a lot of fun. Good luck with your bets, and we will see you again next week.